All right, everybody, welcome back to the Steel City Blitz Steelers Podcast, presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And I'm very excited to be back with everybody, the guys here included. And I'm also very excited because this week I also am starting to get my podcast room back from my son, who's been using it mostly for online learning in the pandemic. And he's done with school, so I can start to get rid of pencils and calculators and laptops and everything else, and so that's kind of nice for sure. But in any case, you had me briefly 2 weeks ago, and then a week ago we took some time off, and we are now back. The Steelers have just completed their OTAs, and the mandatory 3-day minicamp is now in the rearview mirror, and the dreaded summertime is here. And we'll definitely talk about that. Here to do that with me are Ben and Ian. Ben, what are you drinking this evening?
Jamie.
Got a little Jamie.
Jameson.
Okay.
Yeah, Jameson. And Patio Pale Ale.
Patio Pale Ale. That's a mouthful. Okay.
Yeah.
Who makes that?
I don't know.
No. Well,
let me see. Migration Brewing.
Okay, very good. The migrants will appreciate that. Ian, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking some Wild Turkey American Honey.
Wild Turkey American Honey.
Gross.
Hey.
Fucking gross. Dude, that is disgusting. That is as bad as Ellie and her fucking peanut butter honey or peanut butter whiskey.
No,
speaking
honey
of
whiskey
that,
is not that bad. It's sweeter, but it's not
right.
That's gross.
Speaking
of what?
Well, I was meandering through the liquor aisle recently, and I saw a peanut butter whiskey. In fact, I took a photo of it. I'll have to post it on Slack.
But you didn't buy it, right?
No, I did not. It's from the place down in Gatlinburg, Old Smoky distillery down there. And no, look, I mean, I'm all
from a place that I will never buy whiskey from.
Some of it was decent when I was there, and it was fine. But no, I'm not doing peanut butter whiskey. We'll leave that to the others. But I am tonight. I'm drinking a Bell's Oberon.
Nice. That's a good choice.
Well, now let me pause here. This isn't just the Oberon. This is a brand new beer they just came out with last week. This is Bell's Oberon Tropical.
You would
mango
featuring mango, guava, and passion fruit.
That's right. Again, both of you have disgusting tastes in beverages. What the hell?
I'm surprised that Bell's took a delicious beer Oberon and ruined it with passion fruit, amongst other things.
I was stunned, Ian. I saw it,
to buy it,
and I'm like, I gotta be. And they just sell them in the bottles of 4-packs, the little 4-packs. And I'm like, oh my god, I gotta just buy it one time. So, okay, enough of that. Okay, Steelers have had minicamp after minicamp after minicamp. Of course, the latter was mandatory this week. And look, number one, most positive thing out of all of this, at least as far as all of us know, no injuries.
The 49ers had a bunch of guys get hurt this past week.
They did. They shut things down early, and I did hear a rumor that they may have violated a few things and then got shut down by the league. I don't know how accurate that is.
I heard the same thing, but I don't see any evidence.
I didn't either.
I think people are making assumptions because they're like, oh, why wouldn't you want to have all of your days for minicamp? So I get it.
Yep, but they did have some injuries, and that's always the biggest thing. You don't, man, God, you don't want them this time of year. But as far as absences, look, the two were T.J. Watt and Joe Haden. And we'll get to Haden in a second, and I'll just get right to it, Ben. Is T.J. Watt, is he going to hold out? Is he looking for the deal now? The big deal?
I doubt it, but he's, it's a shot across the Steelers' bow. I'm not going to try and pretend that it's not. I expect a few things to come of this. One, I would expect that Tomlin, sometime in the next week or two, tops, will be asked if Watt was excused, and he'll say that he was. I don't know that I believe it. And number two, I expect that Mark Madden will make a huge stink and say, see, I told you he was angry at the end of the season, blah, blah. Look, this is it's a negotiating ploy. Straight
Absolutely.
up. It's just him going, yeah, I'm due for an extension this summer, and I'd really kind of like you guys to take this seriously. So not that they're not taking it seriously. They've been talking to him. They've been talking to his representation, but the deal's not done. So he's he's kind of making it clear that, what was it, $93,000 in fines. That's okay. He'll go ahead and he'll eat that, and he'll make his point. $93,000 when you're due for an extension that is going to make you the highest paid defender in the NFL is not a great deal of money. It's not a huge concern. No. Okay. And that's what he's going to be. So, yeah, that's what I make of it. I don't think it's that big a deal yet. I don't think he's going to hold out or anything crazy, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. Ian, is there a health issue involving here? Because if I'm TJ Watt and I know I'm in line for an extension, do I really want to go run around at minicamp and blow my knee out and now I'm screwed?
Yeah, I was about to make that exact point, actually. I agree with everything Ben said. And to supplement that, a few weeks ago on the show, I said that this time of year, the only news that can come out about your team is bad news. It's, someone got arrested, someone got hurt, someone did something stupid. So really, yes, there is some self-preservation here that he is on a 1-year deal, essentially looking for a long-term deal. I mean, he's on the 5th-year option of his rookie contract, which is fully guaranteed, but nevertheless, he deserves to be the highest paid defensive player in the league. So, he wants to make sure he's healthy enough to get that contract and doesn't miss this season and potentially jeopardize getting that money later this summer. Especially after, look what happened in San Francisco a few years ago. Look what happened to Dante Fowler in Jacksonville. They drafted him like number 3 overall, and then he got hurt like his first mini camp he had. He tore his ACL. So yeah, I mean things happen. It's a physical game, and he's been around the block. He knows what's happening. They're not changing the defensive scheme, which we'll get into that later with Devin Bush's comments. Somewhat unfortunately, they're not changing some aspects of the defensive scheme, but
maybe not.
Nevertheless,
I think people are making too much out of that.
We'll get into it. I got it on my agenda. Yeah.
My concern level about TJ Watt not being there is, I will say, slightly higher than how much I care about the NFL's top 100 rankings, which is absolutely none at all. So,
you're about right there. I agree with that. That's actually a really good metaphor.
Okay, so when Ian, when do you start to get concerned about it?
I would say if he doesn't show up for training camp, I would get concerned. If he shows up and kind of doesn't go through drills and, but he's there going through meetings, that's fine, whatever. But I would say if he actually doesn't show up for training camp, then I would get concerned.
Okay. Yeah. What, Ben, Joe Haden wasn't there, and I know Joe just had a tremendously beautiful new tattoo, which covers pretty much from his hip down to his ankle on his right leg. I'm going to guess that's not a what you'd call an excused absence, but is he looking for a deal? I mean, 32 years of age. I mean, why would he be not showing up?
I think it probably is him looking for a new deal. I don't know that he's going to get one.
Yeah.
But it probably is it. I should have mentioned before that the fines we talked about, the league finds the players now, not the teams. So the league doesn't have the option of forgiving. The teams don't have the option of forgiving those fines anymore. They put that into the new CBA. So $93,000, bye-bye, out the door for Joe Haden too. So yeah, you would think, when it's that kind of money you're talking about, it's not just not picking up your workout bonus. This is losing money that you would otherwise be making. You got to think that Haden is trying to make a point, and my guess is that he was looking for an extension, and they haven't gotten it done, or they aren't talking, or both. I don't know. If I were him and they cut my counterpart, Steven Nelson, and I was the one who was left standing, as far as I'm concerned at that point, my value's gone up. I want a new deal now. You've made a choice. Obviously, I'm the guy. So since I'm the guy, I want a new deal since I only have a year left. Yeah. My guess is he's making a point, and wouldn't shock me again if Mike Tomlin says, yeah, these guys were excused, but I don't know that I believe that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I think fascinating is too strong of a word. I think it's just going to be interesting because we've been around this team long enough to have seen and heard, going back to the Knoll years, the Cowher years, where players are doing this and the coach just makes a general comment, he was excused from the camp this week, blah, blah, blah. Well, they're trying to deflect, just like Minkah Fitzpatrick was asked about those guys, and he just basically said, those guys have been around a while. They don't need to be here. What do they want him to say? I know they want him to say.
What they wanted him to say was where they were and whether or not he heard from them, but he just was like, whatever. I'm not talking about this. And that's the way it should be.
Agree. Yeah. So, since you guys mentioned it already, Ian, Devin Bush was interviewed yesterday, and go ahead and take us through the comment that got people kind of fired up on social media.
Right. So let's just preface one thing about these Zoom interviews that are happening during mini camps.
Yes,
they get guys on these interviews, and the reporters ask these incredibly leading questions in the hope of getting a soundbite.
Yes.
So
and they got one.
Yes, exactly. So someone asked Devin Bush if he could cover Jarvis Landry out of the slot, because obviously, as we saw during the playoff game, that kind of failed at a few really key points in the game where as we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast, when the Steelers match from the outside in, the third guy in has to be covered by a linebacker, which, smart teams now have decided, we're going to move our number one receiver into that third guy in spot and line him up against an inside linebacker. So, it hasn't gone too well for us in the past. I think we all remember Keenan Allen against LJ Fort, a variety of other ones that have happened over time. Sammy Watkins against Bud Dupree, which was a hilarious one. Don't know how that matchup happened, but nevertheless. So someone asked.
That was not hilarious.
Devin Bush if he could cover Jarvis Landry out of the slot, and he said, yep, absolutely, 100% I could. So obviously you ask a leading question, you like that, you get a soundbite, and everyone freaks out about it. So the deeper undertone though is, I'm glad, first of all, I would say I'm glad that Bush is confident in himself and his ability and his rehab moving forward to be able to play and make sharp cuts like that, because that's really the key to covering out of the slot, is exploding out of your breaks. But the deeper undertone is that the Steelers are not changing their defensive scheme of matching from the outside in.
We don't know that.
We don't know that for sure, but it sounds like it.
No, we don't know that. Basically, he was asked directly whether or not he could do it, and he said, yes, I can, 100%. I agree with you. It's good that he has confidence in himself. I agree with the point that you made before we started recording, that if a guy like Mason Rudolph doesn't have confidence in himself, if a guy like Ryan Switzer, who didn't make the team last year, doesn't have confidence in himself when he goes out into camp, he shouldn't be out there. He shouldn't be a professional athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any issue with it. There was nothing in the question asked of Bush that directly addressed whether or not the scheme had changed. People are assuming it because he was asked the question, but it's an assumption.
We're not going to know until we see.
We are not going to know until September. So
right. We thought a change was coming before, and it didn't come.
It did come, and then it went away. I was like,
what? Yes, you're right.
I mean,
you're right.
I was on this show screaming after that playoff game, going, "What the fuck? I've seen these guys make the switch. Why didn't they do it?"
No, you're right. They had done it, and they reverted back to it. Okay, Ian, can Devin Bush cover Jarvis Landry out of the slot?
How deep down the field?
Well, actually, no. It's not a question of deep down the field because Bush's long speed is pretty good. I think, and Landry's long speed is not great. Where Landry excels is being physical at the break point and getting separation. So I don't know if Bush can stick with Landry out of a break like that where Landry bodies him is where Landry's very good. If we're specifically talking about Jarvis Landry, he'll run right up to the linebacker, basically run into him to knock him off his feet, and then cut to the outside and have 3 or 4 yards of separation, and that's really all he needs. That's all any NFL receiver should need. So can Bush stick with Landry through contact and stay with him? Maybe. We'll see. Bush is certainly our best, fastest, most agile inside linebacker. He's much better than anyone else on the team at that. So if anyone has a chance, it's him. But coming back off an ACL injury, there's just some mental confidence that you have to build up to be able to, make those sharp cuts on the field and know that your knee's going to hold up.
No, that's very true.
You have to go into it without hesitation, because if you hesitate, that's when you get beat. So that's, preseason is going to be big for Devin Bush, even though he may not need it based on his experience with the team. He may need it just from a mental standpoint of getting back into the confidence of the game to build back that muscle memory and just know that his knee's going to hold up when he makes a cut on it.
Yeah, it's a good point, because the mental side is often what fans do not really consider. They don't think about. They just assume, the guy blew his ACL, he's just gonna rehab, he'll be back out there. But especially in some positions where you're cutting on a dime and using that knee, quarterbacks a lot of times they struggle to get back in the pocket, get confidence, and so haven't seen anything with Bush that would lead us to believe he's not going to have confidence in that. But it's going to take
he did say in his interview that there was, he had to kind of build back some of the mental aspect of the game, that he felt like physically he could do it, but he had to build back some of that mental stuff. So I think that's worth noting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I wanted to speaking, we talked a little bit about confidence level there. Ben, Mason Rudolph was in a Zoom conference this week, and again, social media is just cracks me the hell up, man. I mean, he was asked again a question, and you knew what the journalists were looking for, and he's, well, hey, my goal is to be the quarterback of the Steelers in 2022. And did you have a problem with what he said?
No, I didn't. Like I mentioned before, I don't have a problem with him saying it. This is his goal. I don't believe he can do it. It would be very, very nice if Mason stopped talking about it and actually did it. You know what I mean? I'm getting tired of Mason talking about making progression, about him progressing. Yeah. I'm frustrated with Mason. Okay, let's put it that way. I think that he has a lot more physical ability to make plays than he has actually made plays on the field. And, the guy, I'll say it again, people want to talk about the fact that he was hampered by Randy's scheme. Randy sucked. So what? What Mason lacks is the ability to field a rush. He's heavy-footed in the pocket. He can't move. Both his parents were college athletes. On paper, this guy should be quick. He should be able to escape from the pocket without a problem. He can't do it. I don't get it. To me, it's a thing about instinct that he lacks. His arm strength is not great. Flat out isn't. He can throw the ball deep between the numbers, but he puts a lot of air under it, which gives the DB time to make up separation. He cannot throw it deep out. Can't do it.
No.
Period.
No.
And he can't read fucking defenses. I'm tired of it. When there was a guy open in the field and he opts for the check down and he does it 6 or 7 times a game, I scream. I fucking scream because it's another dead drive because Mason wouldn't throw the fucking ball. It's frustrating as hell watching this guy play. And if he's our starter in 2022 and there's no contingency plan, I'm gonna heave a lot of heat at the Steelers. I'm gonna be like, listen, you guys, hope is not a plan. Hoping that Mason Rudolph will turn into what you want him to be is not a fucking plan. Okay, we've watched him for 3 years. We haven't seen anything that tells us he's going to be that guy. Until he turns into the guy, I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt anymore. I'm not doing it. He's going to have to show me more. And that's how I feel about it. I mean, as far as like Mason believing he can do it, if he doesn't believe he can do it, he shouldn't be out there.
Right. Yeah, I agree. No, I have no problem with what he said. I would much rather he said that than say, well, really what it is I'm striving to be the backup quarterback for the rest of my life.
I'm really striving to be a career backup.
Yeah.
And, make a couple $1 million a year to hold a clipboard, which I think is a great job. I mean, shit. And he's right. If he didn't say that, I'd be like, yeah, dude's right. It is a great job.
Right. I mean, what do you want him to say? He wants to be Cliff Stout for his career, or to use a, more recent reference, Chad Henne? Like, yeah, I want to be Chad Henne. I'm going to just, make a couple, like you said, couple $1 million and just back up some guys. Or Jim Sorgi, who, I mean, how much money did Jim Sorgi make?
Oh my God.
Backup for like 6 or 8 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think he got a Super Bowl ring out of it.
He did. Well, Blaine Gabbert won a Super Bowl just because he was Tom Brady's backup this past year.
This is also true. Jeez.
And Gabbert was a top 10 pick, top 11 pick, something like that.
Top 5 pick to Jacksonville.
Was he top 5? I thought he was like 10th or 11th.
Man. I thought he was top 5.
He might have. Shit, he might have been.
It was
only there was a machine in front of me I could look this up on.
Yeah, I know.
2011 draft, because that was a really weird year because Christian Ponder went in front of JJ Watt.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was weird, man.
That was an odd draft.
Was weird. Christian Ponder was
sorry. Ponder went after Watt. Gabbert went before him. Gabbert went 10th to Jacksonville.
Wow. I thought it was 10th.
But look at these
number.
The end of the top 10 picks, though. Tennessee took Jake Locker at 8. Dallas took Pro Bowl, All-Pro offensive tackle Tyron Smith at 9. Jacksonville takes Blaine Gabbert at 10. Houston takes J.J. Watt at 11. Yeah. Minnesota takes Christian Ponder at 12. So, it's just, and then 14, 15, 16 were all Pro Bowlers, and Robert Quinn, Mike Pouncey, and Ryan Kerrigan, too. And then we landed Cam Hayward at the end of the first round. There was a lot of really good players in that draft.
Yeah.
And 3 teams overdrafted quarterbacks in the top 12.
Yeah. Cam was a really, really good pick, especially for that deep in the first round. I mean, so was Watt, obviously, even better pick. But a guy like Cam Hayward, who's gotten a 3rd contract, that's what you want your first round pick to be, a foundational type guy who fills a role well.
Right.
For a decade or better. And Cam was really solid pick.
No, it was. Just a reminder, you're listening to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated, serving Broward and the southern Palm Beach counties of Florida. Whether commercial, residential, multifamily, or condos, contact DEK Roofing today by visiting dekroofing.com. Okay. I have a feeling we're going to hear this a lot. I don't know if this is just basically like Adrian Clem getting the offensive line together and saying, guys, anytime you're interviewed, this is what you say. because Chuksa Okorafor was interviewed and he was essentially asked about the blocking. What are you doing differently? All this kind of stuff. And he just said, attack, attack, attack. That's what our thing is. We're attacking. Ian, what's your confidence level with this Steelers line? Attack, attack, attacking.
It's a lot better than backpedal, and hope you don't
That's
whiff
true.
on somebody.
I like it.
I mean, I think we've seen for years in the NFL, going back to those Colts teams of the early 2000s that threw the ball a lot. When you're backpedaling all the time
Yep.
in a pass blocking stance, and then get asked to suddenly be aggressive in a 3rd and 1 and try and bull forward and knock a guy over. That
from
guy's
a 2-point stance,
you all game.
Yeah.
You're not going to get good leverage on him.
Yeah, from a 2-point stance, we were trying to run block last season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just not going to work. So
no.
I think I would rather see the linemen be aggressive and whiff than be passive and whiff. And last year they were passive and whiffing. So if they're aggressive, they're making the defenders think twice and slowing them down, even if it's a half a step. Because if you're coming at them, and this is why a lot of the RPO plays and stuff are successful, is that if you're firing off the line like you're run blocking, the edge rushers especially, and somewhat the interior rushers too, are going to have to at least read a run cue and be like, okay, the lineman is blocking like they're running. I got to pay attention to my run cue first before I just bull rush up the field and, try and pass rush. So it does slow the rush down a hair. I mean, obviously we're talking about fractions of a second because these guys are all world athletes. But nevertheless, I mean, that makes a huge difference in the NFL. So yeah, I would much rather them be aggressive, and being aggressive isn't just about being physical. It's a mindset too. You have to have that mindset of, I want to go out there and do something nasty to the guy across from me.
I thought, and as much as I hate to use them as a comparison, if you go back and watch the playoff games of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to me, that was the way the modern day NFL offensive line should look. I mean, when they ran the ball, they got after your ass. And when they pass blocked, they didn't go backwards. I mean, they attacked. And I just
came back.
I just think that's what the Steelers got to get back to doing, and we just got too away from it, as Ian alluded to there. I know, Ben, you talked a little bit about Zach Banner, obviously going down in the late part of the opening game last year, but he really didn't play all that well in that game.
Really got to do this, huh?
Well,
if I talk about this, people are gonna fucking hate on me all week. All right, yeah, he did not play well. He just didn't, it didn't matter. Pass blocking, run blocking. Zach did not have a good game, and I hope that he's figured it out. I mean, rumor is he's lost even more weight. He's more flexible. He feels really confident in his knee. He tore his ACL early enough in the season that he had surgery, during the season.
Oh yeah.
In October, I think. And, so he's got a leg up on a guy who, say, tears his ACL week 12.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? That's the upside of it. The downside, of course, is that from my perspective, he probably would have really benefited from playing that position for a year. And now we got to kind of hope. There's that word again. We got to hope that he has got it figured out and realizes what he did wrong, and watch that tape and is getting different coaching. I agree with Ian. I think that being more aggressive would certainly be better than the way the line played last year, which
Mm-hmm.
to me was a bit timid and passive.
Yep.
But, it doesn't guarantee anything. And I also, Chooks was trying to give the famous non-answer answer. He's like, I'm not going to tell you guys what we're doing different.
Right.
I'm not going to put that out there so that our opponents can get ready for it. We're talking about doing some different things, and I'll speak in generalities, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing.
No, I mean, you could see in some of the video clips that some of the writers were posting that clearly they're doing some zone stuff, and that's all fine and good, but they're not going to do so many things that other teams are going to be able to pick up on, and then they're certainly not going to start talking in specifics, as you alluded to. So, I mean, we all expect this offensive line to be better. I don't know.
Let me caveat that too. And I think I said this. I said this
more aggressive
a few weeks ago. Is that for me? I want the offensive line to make progress throughout the year. I don't think they're going to be. I don't think the offensive line in September is necessarily going to be better than it was last year. But I hope that the offensive line in December is better than they were. Much better than they were last year. And that's what it's going to be about. It's going to be about making progress and guys staying healthy too. I think we've seen over the years, not just with the Steelers, but every team, when you look at how many different offensive line combinations a team has used, generally speaking, the most successful teams are the ones with the fewest offensive line combinations throughout the season. That when you're cycling guys in and out because of injuries or whatever, they tend to tends to impact your offensive productivity.
Most successful offenses, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, consistency. It's a big part of it.
Well, that's the foundation for your unit, and people, Steelers fans, Twitter all goddamn day long. This isn't just Facebook, which you expected at Facebook because it's Facebook,
right?
But people are concentrating on the Steelers' skill positions and the wealth of riches they have at the skill positions. And they're overlooking the fact that the offensive line was terrible last year. And to me, on paper at least, they're worse right now than they were last year. And until they show me something different, that's what I'm going to believe. I'm not the blind faith guy. You guys know this.
Right. I don't think any of us are.
I'm a skeptical guy. I look at what the evidence is and I weigh it based upon that. Adrian Clem has 2 years as an assistant offensive line coach in the NFL. Before that, he was out of football entirely for 2 years. Chooks Okorafor, we've talked about this before. He's not an upgrade to Al, in my opinion. If he is, it's barely. Kevin Dotson absolutely is an upgrade. Kendrick Green is a question mark. 4 starts at center so far. Hopefully he can make that transition. He's got the raw talent. My question is not whether or not he can. I think he can. My question is, how long will it take?
Right.
Is David DeCastro healthy? If he is, David DeCastro last year, I remember him pulling and getting blown up on a pull. And I'm like, it's David DeCastro. How does that happen? That's impossible.
Not supposed to.
And then you got Zach. We've already talked about him. And again, we're hoping. So to me, on paper, this line is not better than last year's line. Hopefully they come together as a group. I'm hopeful that playing a full camp and a full off season, full preseason together, we get one extra game. That'll help this unit come together as a group and work on the timing and the dance, because that's really what it is. There's all of those moves are choreographed and one guy is setting the other guy up in a lot of those movements. And if they can all get on the same page, they can be a much better unit than they were. Honestly, man, if they're a top 15 unit, they're way better than the unit was last year. Leaps and bounds.
Yep.
Better than they were last year. So, if that's all they strive for is just being average and they get there, I'm going to be like, okay, that's cool. That's fine. That's year one. I will take that. Year one of the transition. I'd like to see them, obviously be a top 5 unit, but I don't think that's realistic.
No, and you hear the word potential a lot. And as I had a coach many, many years ago that used to say potential was a French word for hasn't done shit yet.
Hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah, and there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, having some potential is better than not having anything at all. But, you're right. There is a lot to be proven here. And regardless of the skill,
BJ Finney wants to be our starting center, by the way.
Well, as he should. If Mason wants to be the starting quarterback, I would expect BJ wants to be the starting center.
Oh God, can you imagine?
Fuck no. Ian, what do you make of Malik Hooker? Ian, would you welcome him into the black and gold fold?
Absolutely, I would. He's a local kid, Newcastle High School. Took them to the Whippeal Championship game his senior year. Was a heck of a basketball player too.
Oh, okay.
I think him and Geno Stone, who's now playing for the Ravens. I think he got drafted by the Ravens as a safety. Went to Iowa. Were kind of the centerpieces on those Newcastle teams in high school. But Hooker, when he was healthy, was a really good safety for the Colts. I mean, he's a starting caliber safety in this league, and he just hasn't been able to stay healthy with Indianapolis. So if his medicals check out, I would absolutely sign him.
He was, he's been on social media a lot in the last, say, 10 days. And I think it all started when he was kind of spotted or I shouldn't say spotted. He declared himself.
He was in the Pittsburgh airport. Which,
right.
I mentioned, I think on Slack that, could he be visiting the Steelers? Yes. And I think a lot of people jump to that conclusion, but let's not forget Newcastle's like an hour and a half north of Pittsburgh. So could he have just been coming home to visit family? Also possible.
Yes.
But
although we did get the confirmation that he met with the Steelers a week ago. Today, a week ago today. He made the comment with his injuries. He said, look, 2 of those were like fluke, shouldn't have happened kind of things. I don't know if he was just trying to make excuses. I'm not sure, but he's had the knee, he's had the Achilles. He's just had a real bad run of injuries. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, if you can get a guy with his talent at relatively cheap prices and he stays healthy, then you've added a pretty damn good piece there, right?
You absolutely have. And the other thing is playing in Indy on that turf. It's like the turf in Dallas. Like, I think that's a little more conducive to some leg injuries than some other stadiums around the league. But let's just point this out here.
Yeah.
Hooker came into the league in 2017, so 1 year before Terrell Edmunds, but he only has 35 career games because of injuries, whereas Edmunds been in the league for 3 years, but has 47 career games because he's been an Ironman. Edmunds has 3 career interceptions, 2 of which came last year. Hooker has 7. So in like 12 fewer games, Hooker has more than double the amount of interceptions that Edmunds has. And many, and more, actually similar number of passes defended. He has a better nose for the ball, better at actually catching the ball, better at getting to the ball, better at reading the play. Yeah, Hooker's just better than Terrell Edmunds. I mean, and considering they did not pick up Edmunds' 5th-year option,
right?
Granted, if you sign Malik Hooker now, coming off an injury, it's probably going to be a 1-year kind of prove it contract, and Hooker's probably going to be looking for a big contract too, next year, or bigger contract than a 1-year deal next year as well. So there's no guarantee he stays after this year, but you get him in the building, you never know what happens too. And having guys with starting experience on your depth chart is never a bad thing, because injuries are always going to happen to you somewhere.
Yes, they are. Yeah. Ben, would you bring him in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think he's necessarily better than Edmonds. But I see Edmonds as more of a box safety, where I see Hooker as a guy who plays the deep third and tries to create turnovers, tries to create plays. But in a 3 safety alignment, he would be really valuable. It frees Minka up to do all kinds of crazy things. And that's what I like. That's the impact I see. If you leave Hooker back there as a true free safety and you turn Minka into a joker and you push Edmonds up and you're like, hey, you're going to blitz on this play.
Yeah.
It creates all kinds of havoc. And the end result is you're creating plays. I like the idea of that a lot. Now, I don't know what the Steelers are offering, and I don't think they're probably offering a lot.
No, I don't think
because
so.
at this point, this guy's going to sign a 1-year deal. So he's probably looking for a 1-year deal that best showcases his abilities so that next year he can go back into free agency and cash in, which I don't blame him. If I were him, I'd be doing the same thing.
Oh, for sure.
So hopefully that's the way he views this Pittsburgh D.
It's what was I going to say? I think he's definitely looking for a bigger contract, and he knows he's not going to get it this year. So where is my best opportunity to play, show what I can do, show that I can stay healthy, but still make some money? Pittsburgh is about, I think over the cap's got him at about 7.3 million cap room right now. Have they signed Kendrick Green yet?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. He's still the only one that hasn't signed.
What I'm hearing about that is it's the holdup is the guaranteed money, which I don't understand because that's basically a slotted deal. I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
They signed everyone from the bottom. They skipped Green, then they signed Freiermuth, and then they went ahead. They signed Najee Harris.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, what's the holdup? So I just started poking around, and they're like, yeah, he wants more guaranteed. It's not just guaranteed money. It's what is the language where if you get cut,
I'm not sure.
If you get cut later in your career, it's the amount of money. Okay. So a team can recoup cap dollars. Let's just say you get a $4 million bonus and it's $1 million a year in cap proration. You get cut after year 3. There's still $1 million in cap proration that the team has to hold on its books. But they can take dollar for dollar back any money you make on your year 4 contract.
Okay.
Against the cap. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, basically he'd have to give that money back to the team. And I don't know why I'm pulling a blank right now, but basically that's kind of the holdup right now. It's not just the guaranteed money. It's the total amount that he would lose in the event that he got cut. And it's just his agent doing his job, which I understand. By the same token, when you're a third rounder, you're not seeing a fully guaranteed deal as a rookie. It ain't happening. So forget it.
Yeah, I think that'll get done relatively soon, but it is a language thing right now. Ian, what as we now break for the summer, and of course this is the hold your breath time here, and we'll get into that. But is there anything, if you're like Kevin Colbert, Mike Tomlin, is there anything like on your to-do list? Is there a spot you could sign a free agent? Is there anything else you're looking to do over this time period, or is now just all about heading towards camp for you?
I mean, the one other noteworthy thing is that now that we've passed June 1st, that teams can trade players, cut players with diminished 2021 salary cap impacts. They can split the cap impact over 2 years, which was why Atlanta waited until after June 1st to trade Julio Jones. That being said, I think if a team was gonna make a big name cut now, it probably would have happened already.
Mhm.
But there may be a few other guys as we get closer to training camp or the beginning of camp that get cut. I would absolutely look for another starting caliber cornerback. Being as Joe Haden and Cam Sutton are our top two right now, and then after that's kind of a question mark. And you really need like 5 or 6 corners in the NFL now.
Yes, you do.
And we have 2, if that 1.5, maybe. I mean, Cam Sutton played well last year, but he doesn't have a dearth of starting experience either. So. I'm not saying Steven Nelson's going to come back because he's not. I mean, he burned his bridges, but it's kind of funny that he hasn't signed yet either.
It's kind of dumb to me that they haven't talked. I mean, everything he did, everything he posted during that time, that was all about hurt feelings.
Sure.
And
I
get it at that point, but what they all need to do, all parties involved now, Steelers, Nelson, his agent, they all need to go, okay, look, this just makes too much sense not to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
We needed to explore doing a short deal with the Steelers, and you can go back into free agency at the beginning of free agency next year. It just makes way too much sense not to do it.
With each passing day, I agree. It makes more sense. Yeah. Ben, go ahead, Ian. I'm sorry.
I would say corner is probably the biggest need right now. But you never know what's going to happen. I mean, we never thought Joe Haden was going to get cut by the Browns like a week before the season started, and then he did and wound up on our team. So, they always want to have about $5 million in cap room going into the season. So, like you said, they have about 7 now. So that doesn't give them a ton of space to work with, but they could actually probably save some money depending on how they structure TJ Watt's deal. That's really the most important one. Get TJ Watt taken care of.
I agree.
And then figure out what you have left in cap room and see what you can do. And if you can, go out and get a veteran cornerback.
Okay. All right. Ben, what would be on your to-do list over the rest of the summer? Anything in particular?
Back up my Mac linebacker.
Okay. Yep.
If they should have learned their lesson last season. Yuli Gilbert is apparently made of glass. And Devin Bush, if he goes down, that's the linchpin of your entire defense. And granted, don't get me wrong, those guys don't grow on trees. It's not like that's a simple spot to fill. And that guy really isn't readily available out on the open market right now. But if one were to come loose, there's been talk about Leighton Vander Esch,
right?
Being traded to the Steelers. I know that Colbert gets a lot of crap for trading away 5th-round picks, but let's be honest, his 5th-round picks for the most part aren't very successful anyway.
Right?
Fuck it.
Yeah, right.
Let's just go ahead.
Toss it out there.
Let's trade one away for a guy who is extremely talented but can't stay healthy.
Yeah. I think it's very possible.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it will. I can see it.
Well, there are like his Quan Alexander signed with anyone yet? I don't think he was injured, but I don't think he signed with anyone.
Who am I thinking of? I must be thinking of somebody else that just signed. He might still be available, Ian. Yeah.
Avery Williamson's still out there, but I don't know if I would bring him back for anything more than a veteran minimum contract.
No, I agree.
He's a free agent. Alexander's a free agent.
Yeah.
Okay. So he
was injured though, wasn't he?
He was
last year. There's some question marks there. You just got to clear medicals, but he's a guy who, if healthy, can be that Mac linebacker. But the if healthy is a big if.
It's a big question. Sure. We're winding things down here.
He tore his Achilles week 16, dude.
Week 16?
Yeah. He's going to have a tough time getting a job absent a glowing physical.
Oh, man. Yeah, he's really up against it.
Poor guy, because he's super talented. I mean, ridiculously.
Always liked him. Always liked him. I want to change gears just for a second. I want to give a little shout out to a friend of ours, Bence Burke. Don't know if you guys follow
Brandon Bence.
Brandon Bence. And normally I wouldn't say his full name because I wouldn't want to like embarrass him or something, but his full name is now all over the world because
Brandon puts his name in his tweets all the time when he's repeating dialogue. So I'm sure it's fine.
But Brandon is, I guess I would call him a salt of the earth guy. He's funny as hell, and
I call him pretty salty, but yeah, sure.
Just a hardworking dude, and he was profiled in a story for USA Today, along with a few others about getting back into the economy and the post-COVID stuff. And if you don't follow him on Twitter, you should, because he's a great follow. And so we just want to give him a little shout out there because and of course he played it up very, very well on Twitter today too. So that was great. One other thing here too, guys, we didn't have a chance to talk since the first of these two blunders, which is going to lead me eventually to my Steelers point here. But several weeks ago, there was a play in the Pirates game.
You have to bring this up, don't you?
Yes, it's got to be brought up.
All right.
Pirates suck.
They are allergic to first base. Go on.
Yes, and that's where I'm headed. So we had the first baseman that, of course, with 2 outs, rather than just step on the bag, decided to chase the batter, who was now the runner, back to home plate, which I'd never seen before in my entire life. And, well, a comedy of errors ensued. And then just the other night, we had a player hit a home run, and he failed to touch first base, and it was appealed, and he was out.
Yeah, but that guy plays for the Oakland A's.
Wait, what?
Did we have an instance of the Pirates did that too?
No, Cabrian Hayes for the Pirates did it. Yeah.
Pirates,
the guy who's like their rookie of the year just missed first base. Yeah,
just missed it. Flat out missed it.
Oh my God.
That leads me to this question. What do you think in recent memory has been like the Steelers' biggest blunder or gaffe, if you will? Can you think of one?
Xavier Grimble in Denver. Xavier Grimble in Denver.
Yep.
Rather than just diving for the goal line, decides he's going to knock over the fucking corner and drops the goddamn ball on the one. That.
Yep.
I'm still angry. Huge. I'm still angry. Can you tell?
Well, you should be.
Yeah. I was going to go back a little farther to Plexico Burress. I don't remember if he was a rookie or
he was a rookie. He was a rookie.
Yeah.
That shit was hilarious. That was actually kind of funny because they won the game anyway. But
he caught a pass over the middle. And in college, when you go to the ground, the play is over. But in the NFL, you have to be touchdown.
That's right.
Plex caught a ball, went to the ground, got up and spiked it. And no one had touched him. I think they were playing Jacksonville, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And dude from Jacksonville picked it up, and it got ruled a fumble because Plex was down by contact.
It was a fumble.
Oh, it was legit. Totally legit.
It was. I will say it was probably a fumble, though you could have said that he spiked the ball forward, which would have been an illegal forward pass, and the ball could have been dead. But nevertheless.
Yeah, okay. I'll buy that.
He caught the ball, got up, and
I think that was what Cower said at the time. He tried to tell the ref that, no, he threw the ball forward, which is an illegal forward pass, dead ball. Dead ball, we take the penalty. And they just went, nah,
it's not gonna happen.
Your player messed up.
The other one I will bring up is
don't you steal mine.
Okay, actually, this might have been a game you were at, Mark.
Marquise Pouncey?
No, not Marquise Pouncey. It was Ziggy Hood in a game in Green Bay where we blocked a field goal and there was a scrum for the ball and the Steelers picked it up and Ziggy Hood got called for an illegal bat of the ball because he batted it with his hand towards someone. So that's another one in recent memory that is just a mental guffaw that comes to mind.
That was literally right in front of where I was sitting.
Yeah, if you're gonna do that, guys, players, as if any players are listening to our show right now, but if you're gonna do that, use two hands because then it's defensible. You have plausible deniability. You can say, I was trying to grab the ball.
To grab it. It just deflected
and I missed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the ball got away from me. That's why I was I was trying to grab it.
Well, the one I came up with that I could remember was the infamous Chris Boswell onside kick attempt.
God.
And I love Boswell. I think he's a good guy.
That one was terrible.
It was awful. It was awful.
That was terrible. And of course, the most recent one is Marquise Pouncey with the snap over Roethlisberger's head.
It was.
It ended in a touchdown and basically ended the game on the first play of the fucking game in Pittsburgh for a home playoff. Home playoff game. That's Pouncey's last game. After literally a storied career, that's Pouncey's last game.
Yeah.
That's just that's awful.
No, I know it. And that crossed my mind, but I didn't want to go with that one.
I'll mention one more from my least favorite Steeler of all time, Mike Mitchell, who hit a receiver.
Boy.
It might be against the Bengals. A receiver had the ball.
Yeah.
Mitchell hit him, knocked the ball out, and Mitchell starts celebrating and walking towards the sideline, mouthing off with the football laying there on the ground, free for everyone to
pick up. It was
the
Bengals.
And the Bengals recovered it because Mitchell didn't have the wherewithal in his head to pick up the ball after he had knocked it out of a receiver's hands.
There was a lot of screaming and cussing where I was sitting on that day. Yeah, there was a lot, and there was a lot of you fucking boneheads being screamed at him. That was a really bad one. Mike Mitchell. Yeah.
What was the one that I think Rosie Nix did it? It was on like a blocked punt or something, and he started celebrating. Oh, what the hell happened? He started celebrating, and the other team had the ball in advance. I can't remember what it was. God, I gotta go back.
I think he blocked the punt, but they didn't recover the ball, and the other team picked it up because if the ball doesn't go past the line of scrimmage, then you can still pick it up and advance it. Yeah,
right.
And he's downfield celebrating and has no idea what's going on behind him. And oh man, I can't remember where that game was, but anyway. All right,
live ball.
Live ball.
Yeah.
All right, guys, what's going to do it for us tonight?
Steelers equivalent of dumb shit.
Yeah, that's really what it amounted to, But man, you Pirates folks, my God, I've had to live through some bad Tiger seasons here, so I'm not going to say much, but that's pretty awful. Holy
cow. I mean, basically the Pirates' market strategy seems to be let's develop some players.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's trade them away for picks and cash. And, let's just rinse, repeat. Basically, we'll be the farm club for the rest of Major League Baseball and will remain profitable because we have a fan base full of people who are accustomed to abject failure. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
I think that summarizes it quite well.
Tidy profit because we have a really nice, county-funded stadium. Beautiful stadium that people want to come out to. So we got that going. Got a bunch of young guys that want to play, and we'll develop them and we'll make some cash.
I have often joked that the Yankees are going to just call up a player from AAA Pittsburgh, right around the trade deadline. So yeah,
seems to be an every year thing.
Yankees or the Red Sox, it's pretty much what it is.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And again, check out the website, steelcityblitz.com. Check us out on Twitter at SCBlitz and, of course, Facebook.com, Steel City Blitz. And make sure you visit our friends at DC4. That's DC, the number 4L, customtees.com. That's where you can get all of our stuff. We've got some great new hats out there now. I saw another person on Twitter picked up a new SCB shirt today. So they're really comfy shirts. I absolutely love them. And I'm sure you will too. So check those out. But next week we'll be back as we start looking ahead to training camp and everything else. And and we got some interesting news for you coming down the pike too. But
there will be there will be drinking, and
Yes.
these two will be swearing a lot because they do that. It's really offensive.
You swore more
And
tonight than I did all year.
Total nonsense. And yeah, let's go to the tape. Yeah. So we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey,
that's
it.
And if, one other thing too, since we are kind of entering the doldrums of the NFL season here, we do have the Euro 2020 played in 2021 soccer championships.
Oh, that's right, soccer fans.
Whatever.
Hey, you know what? There are games every day. They're during the day, so if you want to stream them while you work and listen to them, it's something to do.
People do that?
They're on at like noon and 3 p.m. Eastern time. So
people actually watch games while they're supposed to be working? What in the hell?
I didn't say watch games. You can stream them.
And just have them on.
Yeah, you just have it on in the background. And soccer, when someone scores, right? So then you kind of pay attention when you hear the announcers get excited, and the rest of the time it's just background noise. No different than listening to the radio while you work.
Well, I should, since you mentioned that, I got home today very quickly because Oklahoma was playing Florida State in the final game of the softball World Series, and the shortstop for Florida State, Josie Muffley, was a former student of mine. And
nice.
And just a super kid, and she has been through so many injuries and stuff, and it was just so fun to watch her play. And she had a couple of ESPN highlights earlier this year. She's just wicked athletic and
wicked.
They made a great run. Nobody thought they'd get as far as they did, and sad that they lost, but no need to hang their head. So anyway, we'll get on out of here, and I'm signing off for these two. And anyway, you've been listening to the Steel City Blitz Steelers podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.